If dips hurt your shoulder and someone told you to do banded external rotations, stretch your pecs, or pin your shoulders back and down, they're not completely wrong, but they won't solve the problem either. I just watched a video of a famous fitness influencer and he was repeating all those myths. And I get it. You mean it well. But we need to stop treating the symptom and actually try to fix the underlying issue, the shoulder joint itself. Most people dip with a humerus, an upper arm bone that moves behind the body, but with a scapula that is stuck. So there is no posterior tilt, there is no ribcage movement, and that creates an anterior glide, so forward rolling of the humerus, which creates joint compression and tendon irritation, especially at the front of the shoulder around the biceps tendon. So instead of stretching an already unstable system, try to rebuild it from the ground up. Here is how I rebuild the dip in 3 simple biomechanical steps. Step number 1, fix the ribcage and scapula. Step number 2, train the shoulder in different angles and position. And lastly, reintegrate the dip pattern back into your regular training. Now, let's break it down. What does that mean? Everything starts with breathing and ribcage motion. If your ribcage is stuck, it's either too flared, compressed, or pinned down, we're probably restricting movement at the scapula as it can't glide on the ribcage. Now, in such cases, we always start with breathing drills. So we'll learn how to stack the ribcage and pelvis, and then we're trying to expand the ribcage front to back, especially front to back, ideally in a 360-degree manner. From there, we'll learn the scapula, how to posteriorly tilt on that moving ribcage, because that's key for true shoulder extension. You can't force the humerus behind the body and call that mobility. Unless the scap is tilting backwards, all what you're doing is just compressing the front of your shoulder. Now we reinforce the system under load. That means we're training the shoulder in different angles and position to build tissue tolerance and joint control. First, shoulder extension, basically the bottom position of your dip. We tackle this movement quality with exercises like hook line presses, rear delt rows, incline curls. So basically everything where we have the humerus behind the torso relatively at 30 to 45 degrees of abduction. And some key guidelines whenever we are executing that range is that we need to ensure that we have a long and tall spine. We don't want to be overly extended or overly rounded, and a proud sternum. Don't confuse a proud sternum with an overly extended chest or an extended thoracic spine, because that is a rib flare and no genuine stack. Just because the humerus goes behind the body doesn't mean that's genuine shoulder extension. You need to be able to drive the elbow behind the body without the shoulder rolling forward. And for that to happen, the scap needs to tilt on that rib cage. So we need to be in a stack position so that there is some congruence for the scapula to glide on it, and then we can start to load it. The next position that we're going to train is an overhead externally rotated position, and here we are using exercises like chin-ups, cable single arm pull downs, or landmine presses. The key concepts are staying kind of the same as with the previous progression. We aim for a long and tall spine with a neutral and proud sternum. And it is very important that the humerus stays externally rotated at least to 120 degrees of shoulder flexion. And this is a very important concept that we need to implement so that we ensure we get full upward rotation of the scapula under load. Lastly, we're going to train an overhead internally rotated position. Think about exercises like a pronated pull-up, an anterior dumbbell shoulder press, or ab wheel rollouts. We want the clavicle to move, the sternum to be proud, and the scapula to glide with control. This range is often neglected but super critical for optimal shoulder mechanics, especially for integrity under load. Miss this and you can't leverage the shoulders as they're supposed to. Now we bring it back to dips, but with a ribcage that moves, with a scapula that glides with control, and with a shoulder that owns end-range shoulder extension. As the goal long-term is to get rid of those compensations, it wouldn't be the smartest idea to get back to heavy training immediately. So instead, try to start with some variations, as the main goal isn't to max out right away and to build some capacity long-term. So choose some variations that really help you understand the movement pattern, such as pin dips, banded work or tempo dips, so you really understand the movement pattern and can build it long term. Dips aren't just a movement. I see them as a position, as a tool that we can use to optimize movement at the shoulder joint. For some, it might be the enemy and might cause some problems. For some, it might be the solution, okay? Because the whole thing we were talking about was shoulder extension, and dips require shoulder extension. And if we're already able to keep the core stacked with the pelvis and don't compensate as we drive the elbows behind the body, then the dip will be a great exercise to restore shoulder extension. You just need to keep in mind that you need to ensure that you can stick to phase one of the progression model. That means stacking the core without compensating as we go through a movement, or move the arm through shoulder flexion and extension. Dips don't hurt because your shoulder is broken. They hurt because your shoulder never learned how to move properly and how to load it safely. If we restore ribcage mobility, learn the scap how to move properly, especially under load and in all ranges of shoulder flexion, we don't need special rehab. We just need smart training and the right tools at the right time. If you want to dive deeper into the topic of shoulder function, how to rebuild the dip, then subscribe to my newsletter. And if you need help with your own training, someone that takes care of your training, then apply for my online coaching. If you need more infos, just let me know. Glad to help you. And if you haven't done yet, please subscribe, like this video, share, and see you in the next one.